Good morning. Um, yeah, I see that I gotta change the date on this. This is yesterday's class. So we could pretend that we are back uh, in the past, that we are a day behind. Not that it matters. I will adjust the time, but I didn't have one for today, so that's fine. Um, yeah, yesterday I woke up and was not feeling super well. I'm not feeling great today either, but we're going to see if yoga will kind of work that out. Good morning, Dora and Susan. Um, yeah, it's funny, right now since the pandemic, every time anybody feels a little poorly, uh, they worry, right? Ah, and you forget that we've certainly felt under the weather in the past, also. Colds and viruses and whatever, I mean, they go around, regardless. And if anything, maybe we're getting fewer of them now because we're more careful about um, washing hands and wearing masks and avoiding close contact with other people and their uh, sneezes and such. So but you're still going to get stuff, and you need to you know not worry about that so much, and not necessarily feel uh, super freaked out if you are sneezing or have a runny nose, something like that. Obviously, if you are quite ill, you should definitely get to the doctor. But you know, you're gonna you're gonna feel under the weather from time to time. That's the nature of our state here in our physical body. So, um, what shall we talk about today? So, I read a little thing, and maybe we will talk about it just for a little bit. I think I've spoken about it before, and it's a so yoga philosophy has a lot of similarities with Buddhist philosophy, which actually has a lot of similarities with Stoic philosophy, which is an ancient sort of Roman um, philosophical thing. And I think it's very interesting how aligned a lot of these things are. And it makes you wonder about this idea that, we tend to think, I think, of our distant ancestors as being quite primitive in their ability to communicate with one another or to share information. But I think perhaps that's incorrect, that there's actually was a lot more of that than we're aware of, and the influences that they had on one another. Um, Even, you look at some of the architectural structures and different things that they left behind and how similar some of the things are. Um, so I think they're cleverer than we thought. And I think everyone, just like how young people always think that older people don't know anything, right? They're stuck in the past. We tend to discount some of what our ancestors, and especially our distant ancestors, were up to. We think of them as, not having the things that we have now, and whatnot. And it's true. They didn't have computers, and they didn't have power tools. They didn't have all these things. But perhaps that makes what they did and what they have done so much more amazing, right? They didn't even have any of these things to help them. Um, so when I see something replicated in a lot of different um, ancient philosophies, I tend to take it quite seriously, because that tells me that it's something that people have found to be universally true. It's not something that just one person came up with. It's something that is part of the lived experience of a great many people over the years. And I think those are things that can really help us when we think about how did other people deal with this? How might that help us? So the idea in the Stoics called it memento mori, and it means remember that you will die. Right? So it, we can think of it, and I think in our age we think of that quite as sort of a morbid thing, morbid fascination or something. But in truth, it's just an awareness of our mortality, um, knowing that there is an end makes our time here so much more precious. Um, you can't really waste time when you are acutely aware of how short a period we have here. Um, you can't get hung up on how you look or whether what you're going to do is embarrassing or ridiculous when you know you only have a short period of time in which to do these things. Um, it really boils down what is very important. And if you've ever spoken to someone who had um, a serious illness, maybe a terminal illness, this is something that they will often speak about. This idea that it really distills your life down to what is um, real and gets rid of all of the things that you thought were important, your image and your reputation and your all of these things that we spend so much time worrying about other people's opinions, um, how we're going to look, whether doing this thing will make us ridiculous or prestigious. Just a lot of the kind of debris that we fill our days with. Um, it kind of falls away, and you really get to what is important to you. Um, and that is really an extreme case. And I think um, for people who are facing that kind of mortality, it's a gift, right? It's a gift to know, right? I've got to get this done. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get through it. Um, but we don't have to wait for that, right? We don't have to really be on the brink to to get ourselves into that frame of mind. We can think, um, what is important? What is important to me? Um, and we can pursue that with uh, vigor, right? and without fear of looking ridiculous or being hurt. Um, not physically hurt, right? If your dream is to jump off a building, don't do that because you will be hurt. But I mean, emotionally hurt, right? This idea that if we give ourselves to other people, if we share our opinions, if we tell people we love them, we care about them, we make ourselves vulnerable to other people, that we might be hurt, we might be rejected, and we may well be, right? I mean, that's that is the risk you run when you live your life openly. So so what? So what, right? And um, that is a great question to ask when you are feeling unsure or uncertain about something that you think you want to do. And if so what is too flippant for you, how about what then? Um, so I want to do this thing, but I'm afraid I'm going to fail. Well, what then? Well, if I fail, I'll feel embarrassed. What then? Well, if I feel embarrassed, then I'll feel embarrassed, right? I mean, so what then is a way of thinking that that will take you to the ultimate, right? What then? I'll be embarrassed. What then? I will feel uncomfortable inside. Okay. So really, that's the worst that's going to happen. You might feel a little uncomfortable. That's not so bad. We feel uncomfortable all the time, right? That's a feeling we're familiar with. If that's the worst thing that's going to happen, um, why not try it? What about the best thing that might happen? Right? You might succeed. You might achieve something that you really want in your life. What then? Or so what, right? This technique allows us to get to the core of what is troubling us. Um, what is our fear about this thing that we want to do? Usually, it's not at all anything that you can't deal with, right? It is, it's a feeling, right? Or um, it could be, something like, okay, so I want to start a business, let's say. So what then? Well, I might fail. I might not have any business. What then? Well, I might be poor. I might run out of money. Well, what then? Okay, so that's a serious concern. Not just a feeling. That's a physical, safety type concern. Um, so okay, so you could deal with that. You could have some savings. You could maybe not throw all of your money in one basket, right? Um, so it's a practical technique, right? It can help you find what you need to do to kind of get yourself safe along your path. But even more than that, I think it helps us deal with the mental aspects of that. Um, what's the worst that could happen? It's usually those are the things that hold us back. Is that fear? Someone might laugh at me. I might look foolish. Um, But when you say it out loud, you realize that that doesn't really matter. I mean, we've certainly, all of us, been laughed at in our life. We've looked foolish. We're still here. So what? Does it matter so much? So much that you should hold back from the things you want to do? No. Um, so when we look at these things, we break them down. We break them down in our mind. So instead of being this big sort of vague fear, it's we actually bring it down and break it down and look at it, see what's really behind it all, and how um, it isn't what you think at all. So it's like when Dorothy goes to Oz and pulls the curtain back and looks, and this huge big scary thing is just this guy working working some levers in the back. And that's how it is with a lot of our fears and worries, that they are nothing more than our mind working the levers, right? Pushing our buttons. Um, Maybe it's someone else doing that too, right? Sometimes that is the case as well, that, there are people around us who know, what our hot issues are and know how to kind of get us stirred up by pushing our buttons. So, um, it's an important tool to get to know what's going on in your head and be able to do the things that you want to do and um, break down that fear, break down that worry, um, so we can move on. So remember that our time here is limited. You won't always get the time to do that thing that you want, that you've always wanted to do, that you've had in the back of your mind. Um, and when you've decided you want to do that, ask yourself, what then? If you have fear, if you have uncertainty, use these tools, right, to move yourself forward. Don't stay where you are, keep going. Um, there are so many things out there for us if we are just able to reach for them. Um, so think about that. think of something that you would like to reach for this year. And, see what it is that's holding you back from that. Okay. So, asana now. Sitting up tall. Keep breathing, shoulders relaxed. And then drop your head down. Moving around, big circle. One direction and then the other. Back to center, lean forward and move around. One way and the other. Back up to your seat. Bring the arms wide for a deep breath and then exhale with hands together. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Once more. Inhale and exhale. Interlace the fingers, lift the hands. We're gazing up. And then arms down by your side. Inhale, lift. And lower. Lift. And lower. Once more, lifting up. Right arm down by your side, reach across with the left. Switch. And then lift the shoulders, roll back. One way and the other. Right hand on left knee, left arm behind. Sit up tall, take a twist. Back to center, switch sides. And then back to center, moving into tabletop. Sitting back on the heels for child's pose. Back up. Tabletop to downward dog. Walking the feet up to the hands. We're here to fold. Rising up. Standing tall. Deep breath in and out. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, step the right foot back. Set the knee down, arms overhead. Hands down to the mat. Stepping back. Downward dog, then come forward to high plank. And lower. Inhale, lifting head and chest. Lower. Inhale, lift. And lower. And once more, lifting up. Lower down. Moving back up. Tabletop to downward dog. One more breath. Then we're stepping right foot up. Drop the knee on the left, arms overhead. Hands to the mat, back foot steps up, and fold. Inhale, lift to a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift. Hands by your side. Breath in and out. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, left foot steps back. Arms overhead. Then hands to the mat. Moving back. Downward dog. Forward to high plank. And lower. Inhale, lift. Lower. Inhale, lift. And lower. Once more, lifting up. And lower down. Moving back up. Coming back to downward dog. Take one more breath. Then we're stepping the left foot up. Arms overhead. And hands back to the mat. Step the back foot up and fold. Inhale, lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Lift. Arms overhead. Back to mountain. Breath in. And breath out. Let's lift the shoulders, roll them back. And then let's do a couple balance. This could be hilarious today because I'm feeling a little stuffed up in one ear, which is never good for balance, but we'll see what happens. So standing on the left foot for tree, we could have a kickstand. We could come up a little further. See how it works for you today. But you want to keep that right knee rotated out. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work today. So that's fine. We do have days where our balance is not super good. So maybe we have the foot down for that. You can experiment lifting it up a little and then setting it down. So the less you can move when you're trying to balance, the better, right? All of these big movements shift us off of that center balance, right? Set the foot down and let's switch. So now we're standing on the right. We've got the left foot in, doing some version of tree. And breathe. Steady gaze. Trying to keep that kind of relaxed face, relaxed breath. Not holding the breath, not clenching the jaw. And then set the foot down. Bicycle the legs. So we can struggle with balance, right? It's a variable that often much of our practice is as we expect it to be, but the balance is that kind of wild card sometimes. How do you feel about that, right? That will tell you something about your practice. If you're angry, you're holding on too much. You're too attached to the outcome. If you're disappointed, well, you're being too critical of yourself. If you can just shrug it off, then you're in a good space in your head. That's a good place to be. So let's stand with mountain. Hands by your side. We're going to lift up that right knee. See how it works today? Right? And if you're having a day where even this isn't going to do, maybe we just set that toe down and you can lift up a little, right? So balance is anytime you're standing on one leg here, right? Even if this toe is just lifted an inch, you're balancing. And then switch. Lifting up the knee, if that's possible. If not, you can extend and lift. And set the foot back down. Bicycle the legs. And then let's come down to a seat on the mat. Soles together. Sitting up tall, folding forward. Remember, we're initiating this movement at the hips. So we're bringing that whole body forward. We're not curving the spine. We're actually pulling the shoulders back, leading with the chest. And you may not feel like you're getting down very far. That's okay. When we hold our body this way, we are getting the stretch in the psoas, this like hip flexor, which is where we want it to be. When you start curving your back, then you're doing things with your shoulders and the back, right? You've forgotten all about this. It's all up here. We're just trying to kind of stretch that upper body, which is, I mean, it's fine. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to get you what this pose is meant to get for you, right? So even though you're feeling like you're doing less, you're actually doing more. So I love that. Come on back up. Both legs out in front. Let's take a deep breath. Arms overhead. Fold forward. Same thing, right? We're bringing the body forward. But if you don't come down very far, that's fine. You can have hands on the knees, on the thighs, right? But what we're really trying to do, we're not trying to bring the shoulders down toward the knees, because that's probably not going to happen. We're trying to bring as much of this body down, right? So we're starting from here and moving down. So if you have a lot of space here where you're not, you feel like this upper body's coming down, then you know that you're curving the spine. You're making this sort of a C shape, right? And we don't want to do that. It's not getting what we want, right? And a little bend in the knees can help with this. Sometimes the hamstrings are limiting us in terms of how much we can fold. So if you feel that, if you feel this extreme tightness in the back of the thighs, and you aren't able to move much, try giving yourself a little bend in the knees and see if that helps you be able to bring that body down towards the thighs a little more. Frequently it will. And you'll be able to get a little more stretch in the areas that we want to stretch. Okay, going back up, let's point and flex. And rotate. Sometimes that sounds awful. And rotate. Opposite way. Okay. Bend the right knee. We're going to bring it in close to the thigh. Resting the knee to the outside. Take a deep breath. And then keeping in mind all of those things about folding, we're going to start reaching forward. Coming back up. Switch the legs around. Take a deep breath and fold forward. Back up, both legs out in front for another fold. Take a deep breath. Reach forward. And then back up again. Bend the knees. Let's catch a hold of the toes or the feet. Move up a little, I think. Lean back. Find that balance. And if you feel steady, you might extend halfway or all the way. And breathe. And then set the feet back down. We're going to lower down onto the mat. Take a couple of breaths. And then we're going to hug this right leg in, close to the body. Left leg extends. And when you're hugging this leg in, I like to grab behind the thigh rather than on top. So depending on how much pressure you're putting on this, right? If there's not a lot of pressure, then grabbing on top of the shin or the knee is fine. But if you're really having a hard time holding this, you're putting a lot of pressure on this front part of the knee by kind of pulling in. It's just better, right, to do this. It's actually more efficient. You're going to be able to get that leg in closer and not so much pressure on that front knee area, which is probably a better choice. And then we're going to start lowering that leg, the right knee out to the side. You can bring the right hand out to sort of hold that leg if you need a little support or a little guidance. Rest of the body stays on the mat. And then bring that knee to center. And we're going to keep drawing it across the body, rolling up on that left knee, gazing right. And then moving back. Let's switch. So we've got the left leg hugged in, right leg long. Lowering out to the side. And then back to center. Keep drawing that leg across. Set your gaze left and breathe. Back to center. Stand both legs long. Let's bring the feet a little wider on the mat. Arms out to a T. 5-pointed star. And then bring things back to center. We're going to set up for bridge. So we're going to do just regular bridge here, I think. But you can do supported bridge if you prefer. It's up to you. Hands by your side. We're pressing down. Hands and feet to lift up. And then lowering. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. Relax and breathe. And then let's bring the knees into the chest. Rock a little side to side. Hands by the side. Extend the legs. And then lowering down. However you want to do it. One leg at a time or both together. We're going to end up resting on the mat. Finding a peaceful place for Savasana. Focusing on the breath. Keeping awareness into the body and this place in time. So, as always with yoga, we are searching for what is true, the truth behind all the stories we tell ourselves, the fears that we have, the worries. What is true? The truth is, things are usually not as bad as we imagine them. The consequences are not always as bad as we've imagined them, right? Facing the reality of your situation is always the best course of action. We can put it off, we can avoid, um, we can tell ourselves stories, but at some point, all of that has got to fall away, and we are left with the truth, which is, again, mostly not as bad as we imagined. Um, so don't be afraid to face your truth. That's when you can really begin to do things. Um, when you know what is true, you can't hide behind stories you tell yourself. You can't make excuses. Um, you just have to take action. But it's the best kind, right? It's the best kind of action because it will actually get results. You will be making choices based on accurate information and not on, you know, pipe dreams and, um, you know, vague feelings that you might have. One of the things I like most about yoga is it's very practical. There is a lot of theory and there's a lot of philosophy, right, behind it, but all of it is based on the lived experience of thousands of people over thousands of years who've discovered these things that are true. Um, they're as true for us now as they were for people thousands of years ago. Um, they just seem new because we've not heard them before, but they're very old, and um, there really isn't that much that has changed in terms of human beings over the centuries. Um, our tools have changed, our abilities to get things done and to get ourselves into trouble are probably a lot bigger now than they were. Um, but our basic nature hasn't changed. The things that we need are the same um, at their very core. So what worked 2,000 years ago will work today. Um, following the yamas, the niyamas, um, it's a practical thing. It isn't for um, to get brownie points or to become, you know, the, an A student in the yoga class. It's to make your life better. to make your life more enjoyable and more productive, more successful in that most important of ways, right? Making your life enjoyable, making every day you wake up a joy. That's what we want. Everything else is just stuff, right? When you're ready, moving a bit, fingers and toes, hands and feet, maybe stretching if that's what you like, and then making your way up to a seat. We can bring hands together, take a deep breath in and out. Thank you for taking some time this morning for yoga and for meeting me here on the mat. I hope that you have a beautiful Tuesday. Namaste. Okay. Hey, meditation. Why not? Let's do it. 5 minutes. You can do anything for 5 minutes. We might try a 10-minute one at some point. I'm thinking about it. If you've, I have to go back and see, but we've been doing this 5-minute meditation for quite a few days. So I feel like we could probably bump it up, but let's see. We'll think about that a little bit. All right. So sitting up tall, relaxed, breathing, holding that light awareness. Okay, there you go. Little meditation, little yoga, and hopefully some happy thoughts and good feelings for the rest of your day. Um, I'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. See you then.